St. John's wort is all about sunshine in its looks, its growth habit, and its use. We'll talk about them all. There are many closely related plants that go by the name St. John's wort. The one used medicinally is called common St. John's wort or Hypericum perforatum. And common it is. St. John's wort is native to Europe, Middle East, and Asia, but is now found growing prolifically in all of the Americas, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. It's quite invasive, and there have been many municipalities that have tried vigorously to eradicate it. This is one of those medicines we do not need to worry about overharvesting. St. John's wort is best made into a tincture for internal use and into an oil for external use. Internally, it's most often used for mild to moderate depression. It's particularly indicated for seasonal affective disorder, or what's called SAD, for those that are feeling down to lack of sun exposure. It's also indicated for anxiety, stress, and chronic fatigue. This is truly a cheery plant. St. John's wort can be used both internally and externally for nerve issues. This includes sciatica, neuralgia, as well as nerve damage due to any kind of trauma or surgery. Externally, the oil can be applied to cuts and even to sprains, and it's extremely useful for burns, including sunburn. St. John's wort has a long folkloric tradition. It is said to have magical powers and to ward off evil and disease. In the Northern Hemisphere, St. John's wort blooms around the time of the summer solstice. In fact, it specifically blooms at the time of St. John's Day, June 24th. It has these striking, beautiful yellow flowers with 5 petals. These flowers just look like a burst of sunshine. Each flower has several stamens, which are the long, thin, male reproductive parts growing out from the center of the flower. The flowers tend to group at the end of each branch, and if the flowers are just starting to open, you can squeeze the buds and a red juice will flow out. This is a very distinct feature to St. John's wort. Once the flower is done blooming, a red seed capsule is formed. The leaves grow opposite from each other off of the stem. They are oblong with rounded tips and no teeth. If you think you have the right plant, the next step is to check the undersides of the leaves. Do this while holding a leaf up towards the sun. You'll see small, tiny holes in the leaves where the sun comes through. This is where the plant gets its species name from, perforatum. There are often many small black dots as well. St. John's wort usually grows to a couple of feet or just under 1 meter tall. Since it spreads easily, you can usually find many plants growing in close proximity together. To harvest, gather the flowers just as they are opening, along with some of the top leaves. If you've gathered it at the right time, your herbal preparations will turn a rich red color. It's really beautiful.